estamos todas. Eh, También ya veo a Andrea Portillo de la Oficina del Alto Comisionado. Muchísimas gracias.
Hola, buenos días, gracias.
Muy buenos días. Gracias por estar aquí. Nos hacen saber eso, que ya estamos listos, así que nuevamente agradecer que estén aquí en este espacio. Y Félix, cuando quieran comenzar, cuando Artur esté listo, nosotros estamos listos para escucharles.
Sí, mi colega Artur solicitaba un poco la traducción de lo que usted había hablado ahora. Lo voy a tratar de hacer y si no lo hago, usted me ayuda, ¿no? Artur, Mrs. Consuelo was talking about this initiative, no? The idea to stay here and try to find the, the best option in order to use the database. Now, this was the main idea. Now I will do a little introduction, a little deep about what is the objective of this activity. To be clear, no? Explain that we are here only asking support for the all person to make some change of this database that we build for the state. I will clear this for them. After that, the idea is that you can show how is the main function of this database and what is our need, no? Or your need, no? To have some input from them. What change we could or must to do in this database in order to this database will be useful for them, no?
Yeah.
I will try to say this shortly because we don't have a lot of time with you. You must to go short. Colegas, en mal inglés le expliqué a mi colega que la idea de esta actividad es tener el apoyo de ustedes para poder diseñar una herramienta que luego sería evaluada por ustedes para ser utilizada. Esto surge porque, bueno, un poco solicitud de Consuelo, ella ha estado siempre en contacto con ustedes y ha recogido esta necesidad, esta inquietud de ustedes de poder contar con una base de datos relacionada con los mecanismos, ¿no? Entonces me ha comentado eso y como nosotros, la Oficina del Alto Comisionado, desarrolló y está continuamente actualizando una base de datos para los estados, ¿no? Para los gobiernos, ¿no? Para que sean utilizados en los mecanismos de seguimiento a las recomendaciones con información relacionada con los estados, que es un poco diferente con ustedes porque los estados tienen que implementar las instituciones tienen básicamente que monitorear la implementación. Entonces, lo que ha ocurrido, Artur es parte del equipo que diseña la base de datos en Ginebra y entonces él nos va a hacer la presentación para que ustedes lo vean y luego la idea es que ustedes, tal vez con ayuda en algún momento, prueben esta base de datos y nos hagan comentarios y decir, mire, queremos que cambien esto porque esto no nos sirve a nosotros y que pongan tal cosa para, porque sí nos interesa. Nosotros no tenemos mucho tiempo, esto surgió, mucho tiempo en dos sentidos. Uno, primero Artur, que se tiene que ir porque en este momento está de vacaciones y bueno, como nos interesa, a la oficina le interesa mucho, nos está apoyando en esto. Pero también para el diseño de la base de datos tenemos poco tiempo porque podemos contar con un consultor por 2 o 3 meses. Tal vez Artur nos dirá ahora cuánto tiempo. Pero entonces la idea es aprovechar ese consultor, hacer los cambios y luego testearlo con ustedes si consideran. Básicamente lo que quiero decir es que nosotros no le estamos proponiendo la utilización de una base de datos, sino que le estamos proponiendo ayuda para adaptar esta base de datos a las necesidades que tienen ustedes y luego ver si, independientemente, cada una de las instituciones después la adopta. No quiero extenderme porque el plato principal acá es Artur, con sus presentaciones. Artur, can you catch me that what I say? I explain
No,
a little bit about
I
that.
could capture it. Felix, it's okay. Luckily, we have Zoom caption function, so at least I can see more or less what you're saying and some kind of translation.
Perfecto. Yes, we can start if you want. Consuelo,
Yes,
¿podemos empezar?
I'm ready to go. And
Okay.
so thank you again, dear colleagues. So I'm really glad to be with you today. And actually, I want to promise you that next time you will have a Spanish-speaking colleague from our team. And I think it will be easier for everyone because even for me, I'm just trying to capture what is going on. So it's a bit challenging, but still bear with me. So again, as Madame Consuela, as Felix mentioned, indeed, we're trying to find the way how to accommodate your requests using our database, which was initially designed, developed for states, and then to find the way of its efficient utilization by NHRIs. I believe I already mentioned it previously, but still we have some pilots with two other NHRIs. One is in Belgium, another one is in Ethiopia, where they are testing the tool for their own purposes. In one case, we were more successful. In another one, it was not as smooth as possible, but still we're continuing this collaboration. And just recently, we had a meeting with one of these institutions, and like literally on Monday, no, on Tuesday, discussing what actually can be done from our side, and again, trying to find the common ground for these two. So without further ado, I will show you again the tool. Please don't be offended. It's just for states by default. But again, I hope we can persuade you, and then you can test and confirm it that it's possible to use it to a certain extent until we modify it. And I hope we'll find resources to modify the tool to adjust it to your needs based on your testing and on your feedback. Again, we will really ask you to be as creative as possible, because even when you don't have like the best possible fitting tool, it's still better to have something automatizing your process rather than having nothing. So I will show you our testing club again. Then at the end, we'll like figure out how many NHRIs and how many instances we need, because initially we were discussing two NHRIs, opening two or like setting up two new instances, because although we can provide you access with one instance for all institutions, but still I believe it's more efficient to test within your own country, because each instance is based on recommendations received by the country. So meaning if we open one instance, we have to pick up one country. Probably not the most efficient way of doing things. So at the end, we'll figure out how many volunteers, how many options we have, and what we can do. And then again, I encourage you to play, to test the tool, and to ask as many questions as possible after you start testing it. We'll create, actually, I will create user profiles for all of you, like for all interested, for all institutions that we can accommodate. And then we'll see, like in a week or so, what can be done. So again, I'm sharing my screen, and I will show you one testing lab. Then I will show you how it will look like for your institution with Costa Rica, for example. So give me a second. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know when you see it.
We can
Yes,
see it.
cool. Super. Thank you so much. So this is our testing lab. Again, NRTD is based on recommendations received by each country, and contrary to Universal Human Rights Index or any other public tool, it's fully confidential. It's an internal tool for a particular institution or network of institutions. Usually I say for the government, but now we're extending the coverage. So I will try to speak from the perspective of NHRI. And again, please be merciful, because we still used to work with state institutions. So from NHRI's perspective, yes, Felix, please.
Sí, we can ask or make some question, or we can interrupt you when we have some question.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
because I don't know how the colleagues can understand you. Colegas, yo no sé, digamos, cuál es el nivel de inglés que tienen y si pueden entender lo que Artur dice. Entonces, cuando ustedes tengan alguna pregunta, por favor, háganla porque es el momento. Yo creo que no hay ningún problema en
Yes.
hacerlo.
Thank you, Felix. It's a very valid question. Indeed, from my side, I'm really flexible, and most probably I would prefer if colleagues, you start interrupting me whenever you have a question, because it's not a lecture. It might be a bit boring if I just start talking and without any interruption, and then ask you to pose your question at the end. So please just interrupt. Let's make it a live conversation, and we'll see what we have. Because again, the tool itself, it's quite technical, so please, I would even encourage you to interrupt. So, first of all, language. You will see, and sorry, when you share screen, sometimes it's a bit challenging. So, now you can see that the interface is in English. Luckily, we have a Spanish colleague within our team, and we have, I think, really up-to-date translation of the interface into Spanish. So by default, whenever you got your access to the database, when your user profile will be created, by default, I ticked the box that all your instances will be in Spanish. However, if you prefer, it's quite easy to navigate the system. So you have your landing page dashboard, but at your right corner here, there won't be any logo in your case at the beginning, but you can press it. Again, I hope you can see it. So I press the logo, and here is my profile. So I'm using our testing team profile. So in your case, it will come. So first of all, I will ask you to share with me the list. First of all, discuss it internally, and then share with me the list. I will need first name, surname, the name of the institution, and your country, plus of course your email. So here you can also edit this information, but not the institution. So you can see that you can select the interface language. There is a drop-out list of languages. So Espanol, French, English, up to you. You don't need even to press anything, just huh. And in one click, you got your language. You prefer English, here you are. You can change your profile picture. Again, it's up to you. You can put your own photo or anything else. You can leave it blank. No need to worry about it. So email reporting schedule, I will explain a little bit later. So going back to the dashboard. And I'm using English because for me it's a bit easier. So you have your dashboard with initial information. Again, we are working on this page. That's why it will be a little bit inactive. This part, like clusters overviews, recommendations overview, and activities overview. So for now, like when in testing mood, and what you will see here in the nearest future, it will be like some kind of table with reporting obligations, forthcoming reports, like recent concluding observations, and it will be more helpful rather than seeing just these overviews. At the same time, on your right side, you have a very active calendar. There are two different options for this calendar. First of all, it's linked to all activities, like follow-up activities created for each recommendation. Whenever you set up your timeline for activities, it will appear here. Meaning, if you have follow-up activities, again, I will show you in details what I'm talking about, but just to have a general understanding. Whenever you have follow-up activities, the system always asks you to have a clear timeline, start date, end date. So end date will be recorded in the calendar, and by default, like 1 week in advance, you will get a notification reminding you about this event. It's also possible to have some separate events. For example, you want to create some kind of joint meeting within the system, so you can set your dates, you can put lead institutions, you can set up a reminder 1 day, 1 week, 1 month in like before this event. So this calendar should help you not to forget about some really important things within the system. Again, for events, it doesn't mean that you will get notifications only within the system. You will get also email notification, because sometimes you might not be logged in and sometimes you completely forgot about the system. So that's why we have a separate email notification coming in order not to forget about all these events. And then in your case, I will start throwing some practical hints. In your case, probably one of the main confusion things might be lead institution. Again, the system initially designed for NMRFs and networks of different state institutions, meaning that we have, for example, like Minister of Justice, Minister of Health, Minister of Education, engaged in different things. So for you, from the beginning, I would suggest to consider this lead institution box like lead department, because usually within NHRIs, you have different units, different departments responsible for different directions, for different topics. For example, you like one department or unit can be responsible for women's rights, another one for migrant workers, another one for detention, so on and so forth. So in your case, while we have here ministries, you will be able in settings of the NRTD instance to add particular names of your departments. So while here you can see ministries, institutions, it can be the list of your departments, meaning that if you want to call a meeting on reporting to the Committee on the Rights of the Child, the lead department, lead institution will be your department on the rights of the child or on children's rights, whatever you have. So this is something practical and something that might be confusing at this stage, but we'll work on it again in the nearest future, because now we're just collecting different feedbacks from NHRIs. So this is about the calendar and about the dashboard. On your left side, you have clusters, recommendations, activities, indicators, reporting, statistics, documents, library settings. You can go and try all these functions, but probably the most important things, and primarily you can focus on clusters and recommendations. I will start with recommendations. So first of all, like the system serves as a repository of all recommendations from UN human rights mechanisms, and in case of your countries, we have inter-American system, and now we're in process of getting them on board. They're testing, and maybe you will get this information separately, but so far, following our discussion, Inter-American Human Rights Commission started developing API like as a possibility to automatically download all recommendations and managing them through different platforms, different systems. So far, we have some things still to test, but I think like you will be all satisfied again, like in 1-2 months. In the meantime, we still have these recommendations being uploaded to each country. Like if you find out that something is missing, don't hesitate just to flag it to us, and we'll be really glad to fix this issue. So again, now recommendations. You have recommendations, let's say, from Universal Periodic Review. This is one of the most universal human rights mechanisms for all countries. So each country, doesn't matter, Honduras, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Uruguay, everyone has it. So whenever the country receives recommendations, they have to follow up on these recommendations in order to implement them. How we see the process for NHRIs. So let's say you have all these 400 recommendations. You can filter them with different filters by recommending body, by theme, by SDGs, by concern groups. You can just type keywords, and also you can use different advanced filters. For example, recommendations from previous cycle, recommendations without activity, without lead institutions, by UPR position, supported, noted, or noted, or by lead institution. So, in practice, how we see the process for NHRs. Let's say you have recommendations from UPR. You click on this recommendation, and then you have several options to proceed with this recommendation. The most simple way is to go on lead institution. You can work here either with the government institutions, like literally picking up institutions responsible for implementation of this recommendation. So this recommendation is about what? Ratifying something, right? Ratify the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, aiming at the abolition of death penalty. So within our testing lab, we are working with Afghanistan, alphabetic order, nothing political, nothing else behind it. So let's say for ratification, we need MFA and Ministry of Justice because it's engaged with some national legislation. So MFA and Minister of Foreign Affairs, and then Justice. Save. Then, again, we are following. So we are in HRI, we are monitoring by default, and we are trying to follow up on these recommendations, what the government is doing. So let's say we know that the government decided that this ratification should take place within the next 3 years, starting from 1st of January. So we know that lead institution will be Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Justice. So we know which particular institution we should be engaged with. And then we start literally like monitoring this information, monitoring the activities. And from our side, we just put information in this text box, implementation status, whether anything is going on, whether we have any updates from this institution. Then we press save, and we're fine to go. This is a very simplistic way of doing that, which we probably won't recommend, or we might recommend just for the start, for testing. But the more sophisticated way of doing that is to work with follow-up activities. Usually, again, it depends on national context, whether your country has any action plans or any elaborated follow-up activities for each recommendation, or for some of them at least. So, for example, we know that ratification should, in order to implement this activity, we should work in several directions. First, we need to assess our national legislation, then we need to prepare corresponding changes to the legislation, and finally, we need to conduct awareness-raising campaign. So if your government is working using this approach, you can create follow-up activities, literally mirroring what the government decided to do. For example, first one will be assessment. Assessment, here we say that the government is assessing national legislation and studying the best practices, So then we select lead institution which will be responsible for this particular activity, probably Ministry of Justice. Clusters we'll discuss then, and we select like timeline. So again, usually for any national action plan or for any smart activity, you should have some kind of timeline, the start date, the end date, so we can put it like first. Yes, if you have questions, for me, as I'm sharing the screen, it's a bit difficult to follow on camera, so just use your voice. So you have this timeline, and you put create. So now you have a follow-up activity, and then again, you can follow up through your institution, trying to find information whether this follow-up activity is being implemented, whether you have any observations from your side. You can, from your side, discuss like whether this follow-up activity started, in progress, or completed. So it's up to you. And again, this implementation status box, it will be updated. So you will have a little bit more options, like 5, I think we agreed so far, but again, in a nearest future. So whenever you got your observations, you put this information here, you press save, and then you can go and check what is happening with this recommendation, either through the activities or through statistics. So when you have when you start following up on all these recommendations from UPR, let's say we have 400 recommendations, of course you can prioritize, you can select whatever you wish to follow up on, but you will have a really clear and detailed information of your assessment, what is going on. Then you can have like a summary of this recommendation, whether it was implemented or not. You will have like a mapping of all relevant institutions working on a particular recommendation. Again, of course, by initially it should be manually inserted into the system by your colleagues, but usually it takes like a few minutes to process each recommendation, especially if you have these action plans, because you need either to copy paste or you can manually type whatever information you need. The main part for you will be these descriptions or implementation status, both at the recommendation level and for the follow-up activities. Also, it's possible, depending on your working methods, it's also possible to work with indicators, because you can add here like indicators, and whenever your system is populated, you can also not each time create indicator, you can link to already existing indicators, because some recommendations, let's say on training, state officials, on awareness raising from different committees, from different human rights mechanisms, they might be interlinked or even overlapping. For example, you might have a recommendation on ratifying the second optional protocol from UPR, from the Human Rights Committee, from Committee Against Torture, from any other human rights mechanism. And then you don't need to work each time on these recommendations separately. You can create indicators and once, and then you can link indicators, or you can link activities. For example, here I created one to show how we're doing this, but actually I can link depending on the recommendation. I can search for the recommendation. For example, if I have something, for activity, if I have something relevant to, okay, ratification. Okay, use ratification. We have ratification campaign, ratification of CRPD. I can click and check actually what this particular recommendation is about, and then check, and if needed, I can just link it. So I press here, add, and then you see, like, easily we have 2 follow-up activities for my initial recommendation. Also, within the system, if needed, I can also edit the recommendation itself, because sometimes why it might be important, sometimes when you have especially national action plans, states try to merge different recommendations. And for example, if you're working with UPR, you might seen this matrix prepared by UPR colleagues, where they merge different recommendations based on topic, based of vulnerable groups. They applying different approaches to that. And out of 400 recommendations from UPR, you might have like literally 200 or 100 recommendations, because they merged duplicate, repetitions, overlapping recommendations. So sometimes it might be also helpful. Then you also can work with these concern groups, themes, SDGs. Again, you might have different approach to concern groups. For example, in your country or even in your institution, you might have a more extended list of concern groups or more extended list of themes. Or you might believe that this particular recommendation is linked not only to SDG 16, but also has a connection to SDG 1. Again, I'm just using an example. So for sure, it has nothing to do with SDG 1. So this is what you can do within the system. Also, you will see all changes, all edits done by you, by your colleagues through this updates box. So whenever you have here, you don't see so many changes here, but for example, if we have something with the text in it, for example, if we go to activities, and created link, sorry, 1 second. I'm just trying to find a better example with more updates. No, okay. For sure, there should be something. Yes. So here with this, within this updates option, you can see who did what. And again, as we are playing within the system, we have just one account here, but you can see that, okay, this particular user changed this particular user adds some information. So everything is being recorded in order not to lose any crucial information, and to see who is doing what in terms of working and collaborating throughout the team. Because you might have like 10 users working on the same recommendation, and maybe accidentally something went wrong and someone deleted something unintentionally, and then you as a leading expert on this particular activity, you just want to trace what is happening with your activity and why you cannot find some crucial text and who actually did something wrong with your recommendation. Also, within this update tool, you can tag some particular users. For example, like, so asking for, please provide some additional information. Sorry. And the user, he or she will receive another notification, email notification, and within the system about this request. And he or she will be able just to click and get to this particular box to see what was requested from her or his side. Okay, I think we have some questions on the chat. No. So if you have questions, again, please just let me know, because at some point it might be a bit confusing. Yes,
I have
please.
a question. I want to know in case that some users accidentally delete some important information, it can be recovered.
Yes, it can. Like, we can help you within the next 30 days, I think, to like reboot the system and to get back. But in most cases, in 99% cases, this update box will be like your first aid. For example, let's say we have my update. Check. So if you compare this information, so edit some information, and then if you know like what's changed, you will see that here you have this my update, here you don't have it. So update records it. Maybe like it's also for us was a bit difficult to suggest a very straightforward way of recording these things, but at least you will have different. Actually, you will have old version of your text from the beginning, meaning that you can trace it and you can find the right version of your text.
Okay.
But in case you manage to delete something like something different, and honestly, we had once this situation when in state institutions they managed to delete almost everything by some, I don't know. Actually, I still don't know how. So they managed to clean the system before their review, and we managed to restore everything. But I hope it won't happen anymore, because it was a bit stressful for us, and you can imagine it was stressful for them, because it was the first time they were using the system to record information and to prepare themselves for constructive dialogue. So yes, we can, and we'll be able almost in all situations to help you. So this is a very very simple way of like monitoring implementation of human rights recommendations from the state perspective by NHRIs. At some point, especially when you be ready to when you test this monitoring option and when you come back with some feedbacks how you can fit it to your purposes, we can move to the reporting option, because another thing where you can use NRTD is preparing your alternative reports. because at the end of the day, you don't want to lose information from your monitoring. You want to use it somehow for your national reports, for your engagement with treaty bodies or with UPR. Again, like for this particular thing, we'll be probably in touch on more closer mode with you, and we'll ask you to have some bilateral discussions how you actually do these alternative reports and what is your approach, what is your format of doing that. Because, for example, what we can suggest is for at some stage for list of issues and for LOI, for list of issues and list of issues prior to reporting when it comes to treaty bodies, at the stage of having these documents, we can use this option when the state receives this list of issues, and usually you can work with either list of issues or with national report. However, from our side, national reports won't, at least like in the nearest future, we won't be able to upload to the system. But for list of issues, you would be able to like provide your own observations to these issues, to these questions from the committee. So again, you'll be able to see the list of all issues, questions. Then you will be able to select like leading department, leading unit within your institution. If you have just one, so then we'll be creating, probably we'll try to find the way how to create separate units for your like staff, is like for individuals, and then you will be able just to provide direct responses to these issues and download it as a separate alternative report, or a separate report. So this is like the next stage, but so far, I guess we can start with recommendations and follow-up activities. When it comes to clusters, another like big topic. So far, depending on different approaches, we use clusters as a folders with all relevant recommendations from different mechanisms on a particular topic, on a particular like related to particular vulnerable groups or group or particular SDG. So here you see like people, person with disabilities rights, clean water, universal periodic review. One click here. So here you can see 400 recommendations. If I don't want to work with all these recommendations and each time to use filters to find relevant recommendations for my unit, for my department, you can create particular clusters. For example, you have probably a department working on person with disability rights. So here you will have, like when you create it, you can select relevant recommendations. We already done it. So here you have, again, as an example, recommendations from CRPD and CRC. Out of 400 recommendations, I have just recommendations relevant to my department, and in my case, we have 40 recommendations, 39 actually. It's interesting. I need to investigate this case. So you have 39 recommendations just relevant to your department. I don't need to go to recommendations here and work with other recommendations. So I also can filter these recommendations within the cluster. I can have relevant activities within this cluster. Probably, again, not the best. 1 second. I will show you something more elaborated. 1 second, 1 second. Yes, this one probably. Yes, so you have cluster with 47 recommendations from 3 different mechanisms. You can click here and you will have these recommendations from each mechanism. You can filter these recommendations, and you have like you can work with particular activities to these recommendations. It means that you can see it as a list of activities which you can also filter, or like whenever I click, I can also see clusters. I can see to which particular recommendations this activity is linked, and I can see like information relevant to this activity. So this is just to simplify simplifies the navigation throughout this recommendation, because usually each state has around 1,000 recommendations from different human rights mechanisms, and in most cases, if I don't work with recommendations outside of women's rights, so I don't need them, so I don't want to waste my time each time filtering and searching only for relevant recommendations. However, again, you can use different filters and do it. So for clusters, we also have related action plans. Maybe you have something like, in this case, action plan on fighting against discrimination. So this is just to show that there is an relevant action plan, but if you want to add a particular plan as a document, you need to add an attachment. You can do it easily, like you click once, then you click, and you get access to your documents, and then you can edit. You have also lead institutions here, and whenever you need, you can add recommendations. You can work with within the system on this. Then you will be able to export this information. Yes.
Artur, is it possible for you to create a cluster? Show
Yes.
how, okay, for
Yes,
example,
yes, yes,
for
yes.
migration, and add a recommendation related with migrants, for example.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, like, so the title, description, from, again, as we're talking about Afghanistan, for this particular instance, I'm not sure whether actually, I'm pretty sure they have not yet ratified CMW, so I will put some particular CRC. Okay, from human rights mechanism on migrant. Or Rex from on migrant workers' rights. Oh. So lead institution, any, okay. No, Ministry of Education. You can select anything. You can go with justice again. That would be Justicia.
It could be an
then,
apartment, no? An department of the
yeah.
institution.
So then I press next, and then I can add. So at this stage, at the second stage, I need to find relevant recommendation, and then this is where you need to understand your own approach to recommendations. For example, in my case, I mentioned that it will be all recommendations from all recommending bodies from human rights mechanisms. If I don't want to focus on all of them, I can select just particular particular human rights mechanism, and then I can try to pick up recommendation by themes, by concern groups, by SDGs, or typing keyword. For example, let's try to see if we have something on migrant. Okay, you see we have 4 recommendations. Let's check. Yes. Yes, you have it. And then Committee on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Yes. So Again, we have these 4 recommendations. I check them. It can be like 40 recommendations, 100 recommendations, depending on your selection, on your filters, and on your topics. So I can go and manually select some of them. Like when it's just 4 recommendations, it's quite easy. But when you have like 40, 50 recommendations, it might be a bit painful. So usually we do like this, select all results, done. And then we go, okay, sorry, that. Yes. Then you have your cluster. So 4 recommendations, and you can start working on it. You have your selected ministries, lead institutions, or it can be departments in your case. You can add related action plan. Again, this system, this particular instance, it's already pre-populated by us. In your case, it will be completely empty. So I will show you how to add information. Again, it's usually in several clicks. You can add whatever you wish. So I can select something, add, and it will be here. I can add attachments. If needed, I can add it, the description, the title, and then the description. So it's quite easy. If I want, for example, to add some activities which are not linked to a particular recommendation, I also can do that. Probably I won't be able to find something on migrants, but I don't know. Somehow I have it. Okay, I don't know whether it has this word, but let's say it does. So you will be able to have it in this cluster. Again, this is just for compiling all information and having relevant information in one place, just not to go each time to different places and trying to find these I don't know, discussing with different departments each time, or trying to, or chasing particular colleagues. So whenever the system is populated on frequent basis and with particular level of detailization, like you agreed that yes, all information relevant to monitoring should be recorded within the NRTD on regular basis, on monthly basis, it will be easier for you to navigate and to find it through the system. And whenever it's populated, you can go to the statistics. And again, you can go and check, for example, within the cluster, what is going on with activities, follow-up activities, within the particular institution or department, whether you see, for example, in department on education, you have like everything in green, everything is in progress. In another department, you have 6 follow-up activities which are not started yet, and you need to check with them, okay, what is going on, whether you need to check with state institutions or pay more attention to their progress and to their work. So this is what we have and what we can suggest you to start testing. And upon receiving your feedbacks, and I believe, and actually I hope that we'll have a lot of feedbacks why it does not fit your purposes and what you want to change. So it will show that you're really interested and you are testing it, and then we'll try to find somewhere the common ground, what can be done, what can be used, and what's actually needed to be changed. So this is our system. Also, you have this document library. it will be slightly changed, and you will have here some folders. But first of all, the one thing that I forgot to mention is that for activities and recommendations, you also can attach files. Also, you might be able to see them here, and whenever we deploy folders feature, it will be also like useful and helpful to use the system as a repository of all human rights relevant documents. It's also possible now, but unfortunately, without this folders feature, it's just a bit messy, but still possible to to use. And yes, finally, settings and these small things to be populated. First, user management. Whenever you'll be ready, and when you share with me, with Felix, the list of users that should be created, we'll create these user profiles, and we'll provide you with admin roles. What does it mean? For admin, you see all these things. For users, for example, here you have admin, here you have user. Admin can see everything here. User can see everything, but not settings. For example, admin can create new users. User, as they cannot see these settings features, they cannot do anything like modifying the system. This is the main difference. Then users cannot delete information in most cases, even information that they provided. So this is like another layer for protecting system from different ways of interference. Admins can delete information. Like for testing period, we suggest to have everyone as admin. So when you receive your credentials, when your user profile will be ready, you can easily create new users yourself within your institution. So you can just click create user and then email, institution, user role, first name, surname, create. Very easy. Really, like in, let's say, in 1 minute, you can do it. Then some other things. Concern groups, by default, it will be pre-populated. Mechanism, by default, it would be pre-populated. Currencies. This is something that you need to add. For example, new currency, you type the name of the currency, you press create, and it's
Balboa.
For example, euro, create, you see 2 seconds. Institutions. This is something that you need to work on. So, again, 2 ways of doing things. First, maybe the best option will be still to pre-populate your own system with all ministries, engage in human rights recommendation implementation, and then you will be able to assign for your own purposes, for your own recording, recommendation to these ministries. And then in parallel, you will create your own departments or your own units to reflect your own structure, your own organigram. So you can easily do that. You can create new institution, for example, Department A. Abbreviation, you can use it, you can skip it. Institution type, read, and you see this Department A. Very easy, very simple. Again, you can create something different, for example, another ministry. Of internal affairs. Oh. State institution. Okay, institution type. Blah, blah, blah. Again, you can also skip it, but let's put something. If you want, you can create your own institution type. For example, you can use your like NHRI, save, and state. Oh, save. Again, you won't be able to track any difference without using institution type for its internal thing for the system. But if you prefer, you can do that. Action plans. Again, new action plan. You can select and you can put the name, the title of your existing action plan. And then press select. And then you have general settings. So you have synchronized with UHRI, the public database of UN human rights recommendations, synchronized with Inter-American system. There are some customizable elements. You can change your welcome message. So welcome message you can see here. So you can change it. You can change the email welcome message. Again, for the testing period, probably you don't need it, but maybe at the later stage when we've adjust the system to your needs, you're happy with that, you can add or draft a welcome message for new staff members. Whenever they receive their credentials, they will get this message, maybe with links to particular guidelines, with some short explanation about the system, so on and so forth. Then contact email, again, it will be used for reminders and for system notification. And again, these periodic reports email are enabled, meaning that on daily, weekly, or monthly basis, the system will send an automatic email with all notifications that with all changes relevant to a particular user and his or her institution, and encouraging the user to test the system and to check what has been changed within the system. But again, it will record all relevant changes, plus it will highlight these changes. For example, we have 10 departments within NHRI of Costa Rica. You have 100 recommendations, 10 for each department. If I represent Department A, and within 1 month, nothing happened to my activities, I will get a short email saying that, sorry, within this month, nothing has changed. We just encourage you to use the system. And maybe if I have, the system will remind me of forthcoming events. But if I represent Department B, and for example, out of 10 activities, there were some changes to 9 of them, I will receive email from the system saying that these particular 9 activities were changed. It will show me which activity. It will be an active link where I can click, go to this activity. I can open the update box and see what has changed, and welcome message. So 2 different options, not to bother people if nothing changed, just like a short reminder. But you can also disable this feature. Other parameters. So by default, we enable all the things, but not this one. This one is still in progress. So just for you, at this stage, we are not offering it, but we have already tested and almost deployed AI function where AI will summarize follow-up activities under recommendations. Like if you have 10 follow-up activities, AI using a particular prompt will come up with like a summary for maybe 3 paragraphs, short paragraphs, which again might be helpful for your alternative reports or for your national reports for your authorities. Then you can have language for users. In your case, it will be by default Spanish, but you can easily change it. You can change the time zone, date format, translation, and these email suggestions. Honestly, you don't need it for testing purposes. So that's it so far.
Perfecto, gracias. Thank you, Artur. Colegas, ¿alguna pregunta? Seguramente querrán empezar a manejar esto, a jugar con con todas las posibilidades que ha indicado Artur. Solo quería reiterarle que esta es una base de datos para el Estado enfocado en la implementación de las recomendaciones y la actividad de las instituciones nacionales es de monitoreo de la implementación. Entonces, habría que pensar en ese cambio que se podría hacer o que se debería hacer para el monitoreo, ¿no? Bueno, no sé, Consuelo, ¿usted tiene algunas palabras o hay alguien que quisiera hablar o expresar? Gracias.
Claro, perdón, nos gustaría saber si alguien más tiene alguna consulta para Artur. Por otro lado, agradecer esta presentación porque nos da un gran abanico de posibilidades de cómo la pueden usar las instituciones nacionales para hacer el monitoreo a la implementación de estas recomendaciones por parte del Estado. Es decir, es una base de datos, es una plataforma que además nos ayuda a organizar, a sistematizar la información, a contar con información para elaborar informes, en fin. Muchísimas gracias, Artur, porque es muy, muy, muy útil esta base de datos. Lo que me gustaría, a reserva de escuchar a nuestros colegas de las instituciones nacionales, es que podamos ir avanzando, y si le parece, Félix, que cada institución nacional nos haga llegar el nombre, correo electrónico de quién estaría encargándose por parte de la institución nacional del manejo de esta base de datos. Ya también Artur ha sido muy claro, se compartirá con las instituciones nacionales, pero también debemos de guardar pues confidencialidad de la información que tenemos, hacer un buen uso, por supuesto, de la misma y que también nos puedan hacer llegar sus necesidades concretas de cara a las adecuaciones que se van a hacer para el uso de las instituciones nacionales. Entonces, bueno, me atrevo a ir proponiendo que podamos avanzar en esta parte, Félix.
Sí, yo tengo un comentario, pero tal vez le vamos a dar la palabra a Winnie y
Ah,
luego
ok.
lo haría, ¿no? Porque tal vez tiene preguntas para Artur. Winnie,
Ah, ok.
Hola, buenos
sí,
días. Bueno, muchas gracias por la presentación nuevamente. Bueno, eso me sirvió como para reforzar un poquito del conocimiento de la propuesta, porque efectivamente ya hemos estado en primera instancia, en la primera convocatoria que habían hecho. Y bueno, habíamos tenido también la oportunidad de hablar acá en Costa Rica con don Félix. Ciertamente a la Institución Nacional de Derechos Humanos de Costa Rica le interesaría poder apoyarles a hacer este test o evaluación de la plataforma, pero nos queda una duda, que sería aproximadamente por cuánto tiempo tendríamos que hacerlo, si usted ya tiene un estimado, para poder también tomarlo en cuenta dentro de nuestras tareas y asignaciones, digamos, ya de rutina.
Es una pregunta para Artur que tenemos ahora, ¿no? Yo lo que quería decirles es que esto es una parte del trabajo que hacen ustedes como instituciones. Esto está relacionado con los mecanismos de derechos humanos. Ustedes tienen otra parte que es la recolección y el seguimiento de violaciones de derechos humanos, ¿no? O de presuntas violaciones de derechos humanos. Eso no cubre esta base de datos. Eso tendría que ver, eso creo que tienen ya ustedes una base de datos de eso. Quería aclarar que es solamente para el seguimiento de las recomendaciones de los mecanismos de derechos humanos, ¿no? Y bueno, si no hay más preguntas, ¿qué le parece, Consuelo, si le preguntamos a Artur cuáles son los plazos que tenemos para mandar la información? Artur, what is the deadline to send the information, through whom? Consuelo, made the threat that we will collect the information of the people who we access and send to you the list. This is our fair agreement with the...
And
Así es,
also,
Consuelo,
for
¿no?
how long we should have to make the trial? As
Yes,
an
yes,
initial
yeah,
right,
I
we will
got
have,
it.
okay.
No, thank you again. Sorry, I'm just following like all these captions. Regarding the trial, this is a tricky question, but we realize that it might be a little bit complicated to test it and to find the way how to use it. So can we agree that by the end of February, you will come back to us with your feedbacks? Of course, you can do it earlier, but if you can try the system by the beginning of March, by the end of February, this will be really helpful. And then we'll take it from there and see what we can do. Because again, like we need to be creative. How we can use the system? What are the main benefits for you of using the system, and so that it's not just another burden where you like getting annoyed, like, come on guys, another digital platform, not very helpful, not very useful, and we don't want to have this situation. So I think it's like really sufficient time to use the system and to provide some feedback. Would this work for everyone?
Sí, creo que a finales de febrero está bien. Y lo que podríamos hacer, yo me ofrezco a apoyarlos y hablar, tener una o dos reuniones por cada país para profundizar en algunas preguntas que tenga o propuestas que quieran hacer en el uso, ¿no? de la base de datos. Estoy disponible, ahí podemos verlos, ¿no? Para que sea más fácil para ustedes, ¿no? Para poder hacer. ¿Me escucharon bien? Sí.
Sí,
Ah,
sí,
perfecto.
por supuesto.
Eh, bueno, Artur, sí. We
Well,
agree with your deadline, no? End of February. I will support the colleagues if they need some advice and with the or clarification of the NRTD function, no? I can
okay,
do that.
great. So then we take it from there, and after receiving this feedback, in the meantime, if you can please provide me with a list of institutions,
Yes.
and so I need like institution and one like focal point.
Mm-hmm.
I will create a user profile with admin rights and starting like adding these instances to our system. So these focal points, they will receive automatic
Email.
notification from the system. Yes, email with all credentials. So you literally click and everything should work. So you will have to populate a little bit the system, like with institutions, with the currency, with other users, and then you can start testing it. And of course, like through Felix, you can ask for any support from our side. And again, I hope that next time or whenever you have any issues and whenever you need like some bilateral meeting, we'll have a Spanish-speaking colleague, which will really simplify the whole communication.
Ricardo have a question. Ricardo tiene una pregunta. Ricardo.
Sí, muchas gracias. Buenos días. Primero, agradecerles un saludo cordial desde la Defensoría del Pueblo del Ecuador. agradecer mucho esta invitación y esta participación en la que estamos involucrados. Nosotros estamos participando de esta comunicación. Muchas gracias, Artur, Consuelo, Félix, y queremos quedar asentados en esta información que nos dan, siempre colaborativos y siempre agradecidos. Es una plataforma muy amigable, me parece que tiene puede llegar a tener muy buen contenido y puede ser una herramienta muy eficaz para nosotros. Así que, repetimos, asentamos nuestra colaboración y participación en este sentido. Muchas gracias.
Perfecto. Muchas gracias, Ricardo. Muy amable.
I can just fully agree with you.
Okay. Ecuador accept our proposal and will support us anything that we need in the change. No, they are very happy to support us.
Great. So I think on this note, at least I can leave you, and I'm leaving you in excellent hands of Felix.
Thank you.
So, and of course, Madame Cancela. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
stay in touch,
Enjoy
and I
your
will be waiting for
vacation.
updates. Thank you.
Enjoy your holidays.
Actually, it's paternity leave, so I'm not sure whether it will be like proper vacations. So I guess at least my wife will completely disagree with you.
No, better than vacation. It's a new member of the family. Very, very happy for you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Ok, no sé, Consuelo,
Okay.
¿hay algo más que debamos hacer? ¿Hay algo
Bye
más?
bye, thank you.
Chao,
No,
chao.
creo que ya está claro. Yo me pondré en contacto con nuestros colegas a través de un correo electrónico para
Ajá.
recabar la información y compartirla con ustedes.
Y también proponerle o que propongan ellos cuándo podríamos tener esta reunión por país, ¿no?
Claro.
A ver, ahí ya mi colega Corina del Sur se ha completamente adherido, me imagino que Andrea también, y por ahí vi a Tania, ¿no? Que estaba. Andrea y Tania son de Honduras.
Sí.
Entonces, no, perfecto. Ahí nos juntamos y buscamos el momento para una hora o media hora y aclarar cualquier duda que puedan tener. ¿Listo? Creo
Claro
que
que sí.
no, que estamos. Muchísimas
Gracias.
gracias, Consuelo, muy amable. Todo excelente y espero que, bueno, vamos a llegar creo que vamos a tener una propuesta muy buena para las instituciones.
Claro que sí. Muchísimas gracias a todas y a todos por participar. Muchas gracias, Félix, por coordinar con sus colegas de la Oficina del Alto Comisionado, Corina. Muchísimas gracias por participar, Andrea también, y seguimos en comunicación. Hasta muy pronto. Gracias,
Perfecto.
y
Gracias.
Adrián, y a todas y a todos. Muchas gracias.